And now for the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, the Honorable Zulfikar Mustapha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I want to join with you in welcoming our students to this debate here this morning. And I think it was a very bad example just now. And our young people must know the fact what has happened in our country. The story has to be told. The story has to be told. We should not come into this house with a prepared speech and bury our head and read from starting to end. Let us debate. A debate is to debate issues, and we will debate it. So, Mr. Speaker, I want these young people here today to know, first of all, the legacy of the PPP Civic and the legacy of the APNU AFC. Let us, the young people must know the facts, or else when they leave here today, they will leave with wrong impression. All the misinformation, all the allegations that were made just now was just false. So, Mr. Speaker, every time there is a PPP Civic government, we always see progress, development, and benefit to the people of our country. Every time we have a PPP Civic government, we always have development taking place, benefit to the people, stability, growth. And Mr. Speaker, what we have seen over the years, and let us categorize the period. Let us look at period 1966 to 1992. 1966 to 1992 was PNC rule for 28 years, 1964. What were their legacy? Rigged election. Banning of basic food items the young people must know. Things like dal, potato, split pea, every split peas, sardine, everything, flour was banned. The young people must know that that was banned. The PNC banned it for us. We never had it. If you had sardine or you had split peas, you doing a jandy, you had to go to jail under the PNC regime from 1966 to 1992. We had underdevelopment. We had party paramountcy. The PNC flag was flown over the Court of Appeal in this country, the PNC paramountcy. Mr. Honorable Member Jordan wasn't born as yet. He must read the history of his party. Rather than come here with a prepared speech, somebody prepared the speech and gave him, and he come read it here. We had economic crisis after crisis. Guyana, people were fleeing Guyana. We had potholes. We had dilapidated infrastructure. That was the legacy of the PNC. That was the legacy of the PNC, and the young people must know that is their history. So from 1992, and Mr. Speaker, I want to say something here. All the elections that was held in this country before 1992 were rigged by the PNC in this country. Elections held in 1968, 1973, 1980, 1985, all those elections were rigged by the PNC, and they put themselves in power. They stole the vote of the people. They stole the democratic rights of the people in this country. We had elections in 1992, and they were forced. They were forced by the Carter Center and other international powers to implement electoral reform. We had the counting of the ballot at the place of poll in 1992, and what happened? The PPP Civic won a majority and took over this country. And from 1992 to 2015, Mr. Speaker, the young people must know the history. The story must be told. From 1992 to 2015, we had stability. We have free and fair elections all the time. The elections of 1997, the election of 2001, 2006, 2011, 2015, all those elections were free and fair, was declared by international observer under the People's Progressive Party Civic. That's the story. That's the legacy.
Mr. Speaker.
So, Mr.
Speaker, point.
Honorable Member, Mr. Jones.
Mr. Speaker, point out, could the Honorable Minister produce the evidence of these rigged elections? Because we only know about 1997 election that was vitiated in a court in Guyana.
Honorable Member, I allow the Minister to continue.
Mr. Speaker, those are published reports. Those are public knowledge. Those are public knowledge. And we had international observer pronounce on the rigged elections under the PNC. Mr. Speaker, and then we had stability in this country from 1992. What we had in this country, Mr. Speaker, we had democratic renewal. We had the economy, we rebuilt the economy. There was hope and optimism in the people of our country. Many persons came back to live in Guyana. That was the legacy of the PPP from 1992 to 2015. And Mr. Speaker, no, I didn't miss anything. From 2015, they had another chance. People thought to give them another chance that they will change. What they did. From 2015 to 2020, leaving out all the burdens they have placed on the backs of the Guyanese people, leaving out all the hardships they have implemented. They caused Guyana to lost its place in CARICOM. But the most damning thing was once again rigged election in this country. That was their legacy. That is their legacy. Mr. Speaker, if it's a responsible party, responsible government, the young people must know these things, or else they'll go away with wrong facts. Because just now we were regaled with misinformation. We were regaled with misinformation and allegations. I am just putting the facts. Mr. Speaker, we had a no confidence motion. They squatted 1 year in government. Eventually we had the election in March. Eventually we had the election in March of 2020. And what we did, everybody pronounced that the election was held according to all the rules. Even they themselves pronouncing it. And when they know they lost the election, they hold on to power for 5 months. They want to take away a country in front of the eyes of the world. 5 months they squatted in government. Although we had elections in March of 2020. In March of 2020, they came out of government in August of 2020. That is their legacy. That is their legacy. So what we saw in that period, Mr. Speaker, we saw rigged election once again. We saw heavy taxation. We saw economic burden on the backs of the people. We saw a number of retrogressive steps was taken by the APNUAFC government. And Mr. Speaker, what we are seeing now, we are seeing a new era. A new era has been dawned now from 2020. An era where Guyana credibility has been restored to the world. An era where Guyana is making its contribution to the world in terms of energy, in terms of food security, and in terms of climate change. We are leading in those areas. We are being recognized around the world. Not like APNU AFC, we lost our place in CARICOM In 2015, we lose that place because of your ineptitude. Now, Mr. Speaker, we are seeing massive transformation taking place. We are seeing Guyana being the fastest growing economy in the world. We are seeing benefit to the people. We are seeing cash transfer to the people. Those are the legacy of the People's Progressive Party civic on this country, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, you can see the 4 periods. The young people must know the 4 periods that we're talking about. Must see whenever the APNU, AFC, PNC are in government, we have economic depression, we have rigged election, we have banned items, we have a lot of crimes. And whenever the People's Progressive Party civic is in government, we have economic prosperity. We have Guyana regaining its glory on the international stage. That's the legacy of the 2 parties. That's the legacy of the 2 parties. So we must not come here and bury our head in a speech. I could have rebutted all the things, every single thing that Mr. Jordan, honorable member, mentioned. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to set the record straight. That's the records. The record is that when we bring development to this country, every single stratum of society enjoys it. You can be PNCR, APNU, AFC, PPPC, everybody getting the 100,000 cash grant. Everybody getting the pension increase, the public assistance, and every other thing, health care, education expansion, every single sector. And this brings me to the point, Mr. Speaker, one of the most dismal performance of the APNU AFC, agriculture. There should have been a last person to speak on agriculture. They destroy the agriculture sector in this country. And Mr. Speaker, I want to change the perception that they are trying to create in this country. They want the people in this country to believe. They want the people in this country to believe that sugar started decline under the PPP civic government. I want to give you the records. I want to give, this is the records, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in 2015, the last year we were in government, sugar production was 231,071 tons, metric tons. In 2019, Mr. Speaker, sugar production dropped to 92,256,000 tons, a 60% decrease in sugar under the APNU time. Under the APNU, sugar declined by 60%. They closed down 4 sugar factories. And we heard all the legend. Honorable Suresh Singh said last night here how he was affected when his father was sent home. And there are thousands of Suresh Singhs around this country whose fathers were sent home, whose parents were sent home, who never had a job to take care of their family. That's the legacy of the PNC APNU. And Mr. Speaker, I want to bring to this record the legacy of the PNC again. Mr. Speaker, I have here in my hand a lease. Mr. Speaker, I have here in my hand a lease. Now, Mr. Speaker, this lease that I have in my hand is from the MMA, ADA. And Mr. Speaker, listen to this lease. The former chairman of MMA Board of Director, by the name, and I can call the name, Mr. Kevin Saul. He was the chairman under APN UFC. What he did? All right, the former chairman, I withdraw the name, but the former chairman. These are facts I have here, and I will lay this in the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, their chairman took away people's land and took 10,000 acres of land from MMA. 10,000 acres, Mr. Speaker. Now, Indo-Guyanese, who was affected? Mr. Jordan, honorable member, your own countryman. Their own Afro-Guyanese who y'all claim supporting y'all. They were discriminated against. Mr. Speaker, they are sitting up there. Look up there. Look, raise your hand and let me see you. Raise your hand. Those are the people. Those are the people, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, hear this testimonial. Mr. Speaker, hear this testimonial. I, Harold H. Booker, of Lot 35 Seafield, West Coast Berbice, am a rice farmers who have devoted over 20 years to cultivating rice to sustain my family. I am a husband and father to 4 children, and our very survival depended on the livelihood that rice farming provided. Mr. Speaker, in 2014, MMA ADA granted land in our village for farming, allowing us to work the soil and provide for our families. I was allocated 10 acres of state land in the Weir of Seafield, West Coast Berbice. However, on March the 18th, 2016, they didn't have the respect to go and send a notice to these people. A notice was published in the Stabrook News, revealed that my lease has been revoked by the MMA ADA under the Granger administration. That's the legacy of the APNU. The young people must know these things. Poor farmers who are tilling the land to make a living for their family. Their lands were taken away by the callousness of the APNU AFC. Mr. Speaker, the decision to cancel my lease, listen to this one. The decision to cancel my lease came without warning, and the pressure placed on us as farmers was immense. We were forcibly removed from the land that has been our source of hope and sustenance. The consequence of this decision was devastating. I was stripped of the ability to provide for my family and forced to search desperately for alternative means of survival. The pain of watching my children face uncertainty and hardship weighed heavily on me to this day. Mr. Speaker, that's the testimonial. And then Mr. Honorable Member, Mr. Jordan, coming here with a prepared speech. Somebody prepare a speech and give him come and read and talk about all the wrong things in agriculture, which is not truth, untruth, which is a misrepresentation, is what is happening. Mr. Speaker, when you come into this house debate like this, come with facts and talk. Let us hear what is happening. Don't come and read and bend your head. Mr. Speaker, again, that is one, and I want to assure the farmers there, all those farmers whose land were taken away, that the People's Progressive Party civic government will once again give you back your land. Will once again give you back your land. And we have a history of standing with the workers and farmers of this country. Mr. Speaker, I have another one here. Wegan B. Ross. You know that one, Honorable Member Jordan? You're bending your head, man. Listen. Of 41 Seafield, West Coast Berbice, I'm a rice farmers who has devoted over 50 years of my life to the land that provided for my family. I am a husband and a father to 8 children, and our survivals were deeply tied to the livelihood that our farming brought to us. And then again, it took away callously the land from that comrade. And I have another one here too, Edmund Gravesandi, whose land was taken up. I have the testimonial. The testimonial, the man said on March the 18th, again 2016, a notice was published in the Stabrook News, revealed that my lease have been revoked by the MMA under the Granger administration. I have worked here, and the man went on. I have worked tirelessly on this land since leaving the army at the age of 25. My father farmed these lands as part of the communal co-op before it collapsed, and I have continued his legacy of hard work. My right to this land is rooted in years of dedication and labor, and I am now in a position where I need clarity and resolution to continue my work without interference. That's the legacy of the APNU AFC. That's the legacy. And then you come in here and talking about Bora, Bygone, squash. That's the mentality. That's the mentality of these people, the Bora, squash mentality. Last year I mentioned it, and again I thought they will change. But they're looking at the small things. Bora squash mentality. If a man, Mr. Speaker, I will tell you now, I will be the first as Minister of Agriculture for a competent, a person who know about agriculture to replace me. Not a man who come in and talk about Bora and Bygone. That's a disgrace to my position. That's a disgrace to my position as Minister of Agriculture.
Honorable Minister, I just want to caution the persons in the gallery. No recording and also no clapping or thumping. That's reserved only for our honorable members. You may proceed, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, we can see what they have done to this country. And then they come in here trying to put the blame on the PPP Civic, talking about Gaisuko, talking about incompetence, talking about PSIP, school need repairs, roads, they are dilapidated roads in the structure. Comrade Speaker, if you look at sugar, as I said, the decline started in the APNU AFC period. And we have seen the decline drastically in 2019. Sugar declined by 60%. And they went and they closed 4 sugar factories. Mr. Speaker, this here is not our work. This here is not our work. This here is the work of the APNU AFC, a COI that was commissioned by the President at a cost of $52 million to look into the affairs of the sugar industry when they went into government. And you know what they say? Mr. Speaker, the COI does not recommend the closure of any estate at this time. Their own report. And then they went on, when they see that the report is not in favor of them, what they say? This is not gospel. This is not gospel, they can't take it. So they went and they closed the sugar factory. Mr. Speaker, what was the reason they closed the sugar factory? The reason they closed the sugar estate was because of political reason. They have a problem with sugar workers in this country. They think that sugar workers is supporting the PPP Civic and they have to punish them. But I want them to know, as long the PPP Civic is in government, every single workers in this country will benefit, including the sugar workers. When we extended benefit to the bauxite workers at Linden, we didn't discriminate against them. We are a party, we are a government that look after the welfare of workers and the people of this country. And we will continue to do that. We don't have any explanation to make. That is the reason they are over there. Because they promised every single thing under the sun. Honorable Susan Rodriguez, when she debated last Friday, she said about the promises that they have been making. Honorable Vikram Bharat, you know what caused them to be over there? This manifesto, they put everything under the sun. Somebody said they need $100,000, and said we're going to give you when we get into government. Somebody said they need the income tax threshold to increase, we're going to raise it to $400,000. We need the cash grant to increase, we're going to give you $1 million. And not one single thing that they put in this manifesto was ever achieved. Not one single thing. So, Mr. Speaker, the sugar industry started to collapse under the APNU AFC. They discriminated against the sugar workers in this country. They took out spites against the sugar workers. And they want to punish the sugar workers in this country. That is why, when we were in opposition, and we called for an economic impact study, the fallout that the disclosure will cause, they never did it. And places like Rose Hall in Berbice, Skerlen, and more whales, the entire village economy died. They destroyed the economy of Berbice. That is their legacy. They destroyed the economy of Berbice and parts of Demerara. Those areas were ghost towns. Go back now and see the life that the PPP Civic has brought to those areas, the economic activities that are available in those areas now. That is the legacy of the PPP Civic. Mr. Speaker, and I heard the honorable member talk about this year's production. Over the last few years, at least over the last 2 years, we have seen the impact of climate change on the industry's performance. Although we have seen that, we have worked diligently to ensure that we take care of it. That is why we have seen low production. But I want to assure the member that what we are doing now, what Gaisuko is doing, already 40% of the land, the cultivation land, have been mechanized. They have starved the cooperation of funds. That is why we have to spend $40 billion to rehabilitate the factories, to ensure that we have proper factories that can grind the canes and crush the canes. So, Mr. Speaker, I am very optimistic, like the team from Gaisuko, that we will make the target of 101,000 metric tons this year. And Mr. Speaker, we heard the honorable member talk about rice. Probably you know to eat rice. Nothing here, you're right. So, Mr. Speaker, we have seen how we have turned around the rice industry in this country. For the first time in the history of our country since rice cultivation, we have reached over 700,000 tons. 700,000 tons. And we have peaked at 725,000 tons. The highest production in the history of our country. That is our legacy. That's the PPP Civic legacy. And Mr. Speaker, what we have done, we heard the honorable member was talking just now about how farmers are suffering. What they did to the farmers, we had a very lucrative market in Panama that was negotiated by the PPP Civic when we were in government in 2011. What they did, they lost the market. They lost the market, and a number of farmers were not paid. $1.7 billion was owed to the farmers of this country. They were in government for 5 years. They left the farmers on their own. You all remember the terminology? Rice is a private business. So they left the farmers on their own. So the farmers were left to fend for themselves. And many farmers had to come out of this rice cultivation. Many factory rice mills had to close. The farmers came and met with us when we were in opposition. And we told them, because we were very confident that we will go back into government, that when we go back into government, we will resolve that matter. And Mr. Speaker, I am happy to say with the intervention, I know I can't call the president here, but we must acknowledge the role His Excellency would have made to get and recoup that money from Panama. Mr. Speaker, a couple months ago, less than 6 months ago, all the farmers were paid their fee money. $1.7 billion was transferred to the farmers. And the Attorney General to work with me, right? And Mr. Speaker, when we came out of government in 2015, we had another lucrative market, the Petro-Caribbean market in Venezuela. And what they did, they destroyed it. They lost it. And almost 20 farmers were owed again. Only last month, Mr. Speaker, only last month, we found the money of $438 million to pay to the farmers. $438 million we paid to the farmers. And Mr. Speaker, over the last 4 years, as we saw rice production peak at 725,000 tons. I am very optimistic again this year that we will increase rice production to over 804,000 metric tons. This year alone, this crop alone, we have already cultivated 235,000 acres. For the first time in the history of this country, for the first time in the history of the MMA scheme, this time around, the MMA scheme, this crop, the MMA scheme is cultivating 101,000 acres of rice. 101,000 acres of rice. And Mr. Speaker, probably you don't know about rice. But Mr. Speaker, as I said, that the APNO, I want to quote this one, I have to. They had 11 items in their manifesto how they will improve the rice industry. I want to read it out, Mr. Speaker. Number one, they said they will restructure the GRDB. Nothing. But here the joke of the day, Mr. Speaker. The joke of the day is they said they would hold free and fair elections supervised by GCOM for the executive of the RP. They want to hold free and fair election. What who talking about free and fair elections? What a joke, Mr. Speaker. Free and fair election for RPA? When APNO AFC hold this country 5-month ransom and squatted in government for 1 year, and they're talking about free and fair election. For the RPA. That's the joke of the year. And they want GCOM to supervise free and fair election. Tell me if these people... Yeah, tell me if these people know what I'm doing. Free and fair election. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, that's the joke. And I got a number of other measures that they say that they will do. No.
Mr. Minister, this is no joke. You need an extension.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask that the honourable member be given 5 minutes to conclude. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Teixeira. Honorable Minister, you may continue.
So, Mr. Speaker, the agriculture sector is moving rapidly. Today, Guyana has taken its rightful place in CARICOM and in the region. Whilst we are now increasing production in the traditional area, rice, other crops, we have now started a new industry in aquaculture. We have increased brackish water shrimp by over 700%, from 10,000 kilogram monthly to 120,000 kilogram. That industry alone earned about approximately $1.8 billion in those economies, the rural economy. We have started the production of Vanami prawns. We are now producing our own prawns, a very lucrative activity. We will be exporting that overseas. Right here in Guyana, there are a number of demands for these prawns. We already have 10 ponds at Anvawak on the west coast of Berbice. 10 ponds. We are building our own hatchery. We have our own hatchery now. We are in the process of building our own feed mill. Those are new activities. Mr. Speaker, we have started the cage culture, the marine cage culture. When we talk about the marine cage culture, many of them talk that those technology cannot come to this part of the world. That those things can happen in Asia and places like Hong Kong and so. We brought it here. We did the pilot test at Machabo, Mainstay, and Kapoi. It was very successful, and we are in the process of installing another 50 cages in different interior locations. Those are the new things, Mr. Speaker. In our manifesto, we said we will diversify the economy. We have started the diversification since 2021. In 2024-23, we have increased the cultivation of corn and soya. Last year, we increased it to 12,000 acres, almost 700% increase. This year, we will increase that to 25,000 acres, and that will help us 2 times per year to be self-sufficient in producing all our needs right here in Guyana. Those are the vision that we are talking about. We are not coming here with a prepared speech and come read pre-prepared speech. Those are the policies of the government. That is the food security that we are talking about. Mr. Speaker, We heard in the budget speech, over 600 shade houses were built. We will be building another 200 this year. But that is not the case. We brought in young people who are seeing agriculture as a menial job, as a job for old people and the adult people who never went to school. We now brought in people from the University of Guyana, the Guyana School of Agriculture. Over 70% of the participants in this program are young people. All the projects from the Ministry of Agriculture, we have to have 35% young people and women. The Black Belly Sheep Project, which is another success story. We have here, watch, raise your hand, let me see you there. Tell them what the success is. Look, the success, over 175 farmers who have already benefited from the Black Belly Sheep Project. Mr. Speaker, we have had 100% increase in the Black Belly Sheep production. And we are slowly building that brand. To replace the New Zealand lamb and the Australian lamb coming to this part of the world. Those are the vision of the PPP civic government. We have seen livestock increase by 24%. We have started new program. The first time in the history of this country, we started embryo transplant. 300 embryo transplant, sure pregnancy, better breed of animal. We brought in 63 breeding bulls. We give to farmers around the country. We've completed the abattoir in Region 5. Next 2 weeks we'll commission those abattoirs. Mr. Speaker, we are looking to build the swine abattoir at the Garden of Eden. And the swine story has been a success. So, Mr. Speaker, I know for a fact that I have been going on and time will catch up with me, but I want to first also thank my brother here, my colleague, Dr. Ashley Singh and his team, for bringing a budget that is forward thinking, gives the strategic direction of our country, and one that will reshape the future of Guyana. Mr. Speaker, the budget under the theme of secure, prosperous, and sustainable Guyana is one for all Guyanese, as I said, all the benefit, regardless of class, ethnicity, or political affiliation. Mr. Speaker, we stand at a defining moment in our country's history. Guyana is growing, Guyana is thriving, and Guyana is charting a path towards prosperity that will benefit every citizen, every community, and every region of our country. Mr. Speaker, as I said, in this budget, there is something for every single section of society. And as I said, this budget is more just a plan for the upcoming year. It's a vision for the future. We are establishing the groundwork for a better tomorrow for all Guyanese. And I want to just highlight 2 points that my brother would have made when he read his budget speech. Talk about this budget being addressing all our promises that we went to the electorate with. We have already fulfilled for the first time in this country all the promises that we have made to the electorate of this country. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, this budget laid the groundwork for our next term in 2025 and for 2030 and beyond. So this is a comprehensive budget, a budget for all Guyanese, and I urge that we should not have a division in this budget in accepting this budget for the country and to propel Guyana forward. Thank you very much.